Hi, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. We may have some others join as we're working through, but I won't keep you guys waiting any longer. I'd like to welcome you to the ClinicTracker Community Training Series. We are recording this presentation, so we'll provide you a copy of it afterwards that you can review later or even send it out to people that you work with. In doing these webinars, we've scheduled quite a few of them, and we always hope that you take a look at the schedule to see which items are going to pertain to you. But always keep in mind, even if the topic we've identified doesn't match up with what you need, you can still come to those webinars, and we give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you have about our system at the end of the webinar. Okay? So the goal of these training series webinars that we've created is to help you make the most out of your ClinicTracker and Billing Tracker system. And what that means is we really want you to come to us with your questions, with your unique situations, tell us about them so that we can help you configure the system in a way that makes it most productive for your staff. We also want to provide you frequent opportunities to interact with system experts. So if you do have those kind of one-off questions here and there, you can jump on the calls with us and we'll walk you through whatever you need help with. Okay. Today's training webinar is specifically about a report builder upgrades. One feature in particular we've heard a lot of questions about, and that's designing reports that show where information is missing. So for example, if a patient has completed, or excuse me, not completed a particular custom form. So we'll go ahead and jump over to ClinicTracker and we'll take a look at that now. And in doing so, we're looking at the ClinicTracker main screen, and we're going to come up here to Help About Form Builder. Okay, so the first step in this is actually to create the custom form. Now, you may have any kind of custom form that this pertains to, but what I most often see is things like consent forms. So if you have like a HIPAA consent or patient rights and responsibilities, anything like that that you really need out of the gate and you need to run a report on who's had these items filled in and who's missing this information. So we'll go ahead and create a patient form. So I'm going to Form Builder and then Patient Forms. And we're just going to call this our report consent so that we can find it pretty easily on the reporting side. And we'll just kind of go ahead and quickly fill out some information here. So we're just saying tab 1. We're going to make this a standalone form. And then I'll go ahead and save my changes here and configure my fields. Now, when we're configuring the fields in the form builder, there are just a number of options that you have available to you, including things like text boxes and labels, formula fields, etc. And if you want to dig into that functionality and features very specifically, take a look at some of the webinars that we've done previously, and those are on that webinar page. You can look at the recordings that we've done in the past, and then you'll see how to use all of these fields in here. If you ever come up with specific questions that we haven't addressed, you certainly let us know, and we'll definitely either schedule a webinar or answer your questions specifically. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in my field label. So what I'm just doing is calling this a label, and I'm going to suppress this so I just have my description text. So I'm going to say, you know, I would maybe paste in my information from a HIPAA consent here, and I'm just going to put some information in so we can get moving. Okay, so now I have this in here, and yours obviously would be much, much longer, and I can go ahead and save. And I'll go ahead and put an external signature field as well. So this is how we're collecting a patient signature. And then maybe I want mom's signature too, so I'll just do another external field. And I'll say parent signature. This time I'm going to leave the patient signature field unchecked right here, and that means that the system is going to recognize this as an external signature other than a patient. Okay, so I have my consent here. It's got the verbiage. It's got 2 signatures on here. And you can see if you're copying and pasting in from a consent that you already have established, it takes minutes to build this. So we're going to close out of here. And what's happening right now, the system's just kind of rendering the form. It's building the back end of it, making it available for reporting, making it visible for your users, and that's why it just takes a few minutes on that first save. It's doing a lot behind the scenes. And now we're enabling the form and we're saving. What that's going to do is it's going to make the system available, or excuse me, make the form available in the system so your users can access the form. Okay, so at this point, if you have any questions, you can certainly raise your hand or you can type in your question. I don't see any questions so far, but I'll stop if anybody needs to ask any. Just jump right in with those. In the meantime, I'm just going to move over to the report builder. So you can see here I'm back on the main page, and I'm going here to reports and then report builder right here. At the top, this is very important. We're going to click the demographics data source. So you see here patient demographics with phase. Now you also see there's a patient demographics max phase. So there's two different options here, and the difference between the two, a patient demographic with phase means that the system's going to return to me any records for each phase of treatment that a patient has. So for example, let's say John Zippy, our example patient, has 3 treatment phases, 2 are discharged and 1 is active. I'm going to get a record for all 3 treatment phases, and the system will indicate which treatment phase it is. Instead, if I use max phase, in that same scenario, John Zippy has 3 treatment phases. The system's only going to show me the latest one, or the maximum phase, so phase number 3, because that's the highest number phase. Okay, so that's the difference between these two data sources. Now, I only want to see the latest phase, or so I'm going to say patient demographics max phase. Now, you might choose with phase. It's totally up to you. Now, what we're going to do is name your report. So we'll say the missing consent report. Okay, we need to select our category, and this is just basically where do I want this report to be available. So in our case, I want it to be available under CT admin. That means that any staff member that I've granted permissions to access this report is going to be able to access, excuse me, any staff members that have access to the CT admin reports will have access to this report that we're creating now. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to fill out information. So I've selected the report source, the max phase, or patient demographics max phase, and you can see those are the columns I have showing here, right, where it says columns for reporting. So I'm basically going to go down here and look for the patient name. Okay, and I'm just double clicking and that adds it into the report. Now I can do other things like add in patient groups, and again, all of that functionality is covered pretty specifically in our report builder webinars, but the way I'm going to add in a group is I'm going to find the field I want to use, right click, and say add to group. This means that all of my patient records that are returned in this report are going to be sorted and grouped by the patient group indicated on their demographic form. Okay, so we're just going to keep moving on and adding fields in here. But now maybe I want to see things like the admission date or the date admitted. So we'll put that in here. And now we'll just come here to where it says select columns for reporting. And now I'm going to actually use this drop-down. What this drop-down does is it shows me all of the data sources that are related to the one I picked at the top. So because I picked the patient demographic data source, there's just going to be a ton of related data sources because the patient record is kind of the starting place for paperwork and progress notes and everything like that. So what I'm doing here through this drop-down is I'm just kind of looking for the custom form name that I want to report on, or whatever the case might be. So this is how you're pulling in information that's related to this patient. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just click F2 on my keyboard so I can find the search list. Okay, and here's the custom form that I just created. So you saw that I just created the form, and the system behind the scenes is automatically making these data references so that I can make a report based on it later on. So I'm going to come here and find the report consent. Now I have all of the fields that I've included in here, so I can look at things like the patient name or the signature date, anything like that. Okay, in our example, I'm building a report because I want to see specifically who's missing this consent, right? So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is create a filter based on the UID or unique ID of this custom form. So just to explain what that means to you in a more technical way, every time a patient completes a record, or excuse me, every time a staff member completes a record in the system, that record gets a unique ID. And that unique ID is available on reports. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say, I want to see all patients who don't have a unique ID for this form, which means no form has been completed. If that doesn't make sense to anybody, go ahead and raise your hand, ask a question. I want to make sure that's super clear. Again, just to restate so that you are clear, I'm going to filter the report to show me records where this UID field is missing. Okay, and that again, that's meaning to you that we're looking for patients who don't have this form completed. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we'll come to Add Filter. Okay, and in this case, we're going to use this first drop-down. And again, this is the same drop-down box that you see here is also right here. So it's just allowing you to select the related data source. So again, I'm pressing F2 on my keyboard. I'm looking for my custom form name. Now I'm looking for the field under this report source. So again, remember that's UID. I'm looking for the unique ID. And I'm going to say I just want it to be null. So I'm going to leave this blank. So it's actually looking for a value, so we'll say is null. Okay. So what we're doing is we're actually coming over. I've used the builder to build, and the UID is actually a numeric field. So what it's looking for is a number here, and that's not what we want. We just want a null value, which means empty. Okay, so we'll do a formula is null, and then we'll find oops. Then we'll use that report consent UID. So basically what that formula does is it's saying, is this field null? If so, then I want to see a yes here. If not, then I want to see a 0, and I only want to show the records that return to 1. So again, is this field null or empty? If so, show me a 1. If not, show me a 0, but only show me the records in this report where you've given me a 1. That's what this says. Okay, so now what we're going to do is add a parameter in here. A parameter is a way to filter the information on your report every single time that you run it. So an example of that might be the date admitted. So I only want to see patients show on this report who were admitted during a date range that I specifically specify. Okay, so we're just waiting for that add parameters field to show up, but because it's the first time that we're saving it, it just takes a second. So we're clicking date admitted, and we're going to say is between. So basically, I've pulled from a field that's showing on the report already. I put a check mark next to it, and then I said how I want this filter to work. I want it to be the date admitted is between. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is save that parameter, and we'll go ahead and preview our report. Okay, it looks like the parameter screen just opened up in the background here. So I'm just coming into the parameters and I'm saying the date admitted is between, and then I can adjust the date range as necessary. So because I'm on my demo system, I'm just going to put it back a few months and I'll say generate report. Now this is going to take a minute because nobody in my system has that report, or excuse me, has that form created. Does anybody have a question while we're waiting? Now is the time to ask questions or raise your hand. Okay, and while we're waiting for this, like I said, it's going to be a lot of information because none of my clients have that form entered. So while we're just waiting for that to render, I'm just going to pull up this community training series page here on our website and show you that we have a number of webinars that are coming up. They're scheduled, and you can just click over here to register. Keep in mind at the end of the structured topic, we're going to give you the opportunity to ask any ClinicTracker or billing checker related questions at all. So perhaps you have a coworker that needs to come to one of these webinars and just ask a few questions. Certainly encourage them to do that here. You can also see previously recorded webinars, and you'll see the description here. Those items are available so you can review and just watch and learn more about the different features in the system. If you ever have questions or suggestions for the webinars, you can always use the support portal to send in your request. So just open up a ticket, or you can even fill out the survey that comes excuse me, that comes out after the webinar is all done, and let us know those upcoming webinar topics you want to cover. Okay. So this is just taking a second, so I'm going to back out and maybe change my date range so that you can see the rendered report. While I'm doing that, if you do have any questions, please go ahead and post them so that we can cover them. So one of the questions from William is that you are printing your custom forms and the text boxes tend to print over the next one. That doesn't sound normal or right to me. That sounds like a problem. So what I would encourage you to do is actually to take a scan of one of the printouts, maybe print something out, scan it, and you can send it into the support team so we can take a look at exactly what you're seeing, and then I'll be able to give you more specific instructions. Any other questions? Or William, does that answer your question? Okay, great. William, so if you have any trouble working with the support team, just certainly let us know. Again, the support team is available right through that user support portal link at the top of, the top right-hand side of the ClinicTracker main screen, and you can click in there to open your tickets. There's a blue support button on the very side of any page in that user support portal. Now, I'll look for your ticket over the next day and a half just to make sure that I'm following it and make sure you get the answer you need. Okay. Any other questions while we're rendering this report? I've just restarted it to show you. Any other items that you want covered in this webinar today that we haven't covered? any questions that aren't pertaining to the report builder, anything like that that I can help you out with. Okay, so William's asking, is there any way to make client information print at the top of a custom form? And there is. It's very, very easy. So I'll show you that in just a minute. Here we go. Great, and this time I'm just going to go back maybe a few months just so we don't have so much data and we don't lock it up again. And in the meantime, while that's running, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just come over here to the ClinicTracker main screen and go here. So we'll come here to help about. And then, William, to answer your question, what you're going to do in order to configure the header is come here to Form Builder. Then you'll say Configure Header Footer. This is where you can say that you want your logo to show at the top of all custom forms, patient information, etc. So what you're going to do is say the location, whether it be header or footer. You'll select the field type, so things like full patient data or name, etc. And you'll just choose from these variables that you have available to you here. Then you'll say how you want it formatted, the alignment, etc. And you can even say, I only want this to take up part of the line. Maybe you want to include several, maybe 4 items across the line. So you would put them each at 25%. For our example, we'll say 100. And then I'll just click, whoops. Then I'll just click Save, and that's added in here. So you can see that that variable has now been added in. Yep. The next question that we're getting, just while we're waiting, is how do I access the recording of the webinar? So here's our report here. So here's everybody admitted in the date range that doesn't have that custom form completed. Okay. Now, if you need to access this webinar later on, you'll come here to the support portal. Now, the support portal is available by coming to User Support Portal. And then under ClinicTracker Community Training Series here on the side, you'll click this page. It will load for you, and you'll be able to see all of those previously recorded webinars as you scroll down through this page. Okay, so this webinar will be recorded, and you'll find that recording here in the next day or two. Okay, and I'll even make sure we post an example formula for you so that you can take that information and put it right into your system, and you won't have to kind of find it in the video recording. Okay, any more questions today about whether it be regarding the report builder or anything else in the system? Okay, I don't see any other questions coming in. I'll stay connected for just a few more minutes in case anybody has a last minute question that they want to make sure is covered today. Otherwise, please take a look at the upcoming webinar schedule and make sure that you register for anything that will make sense for you. Pass it on to your coworkers. If you're not seeing the subject you need me to cover, come here to where it says submit your suggestions for the community training series and let me know what you want me to talk about. I always want to hear your suggestions and make sure that we're covering the items that you specifically need. So don't hesitate to let us know what that is for you, okay? I don't see any other questions that have come in, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. I'll get this recording posted for you, and it will be available in the next day. In the meantime, if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. William, right here, the support portal button, and I'll look for your tickets. Okay? Thanks so much, everybody. You have a great day.